What's up, everybody? Welcome to Playing Dead, IGN's every so often show all about Telltale Games' The Walking Dead. I'm Greg Miller. This is the Pride of Kentucky, Robert Kirkman. How you doing?
Still using that Pride of Kentucky thing, huh?
Yeah, I give people a nickname and I stick with it. That's what I
good.
do.
Have you used that before with me?
No, we debuted it.
Oh, okay.
This is the debut.
It's a good
World
debut.
exclusive.
It's a good debut. We should see in the comments section what you guys think of the Pride of Kentucky thing. I'm not voting for it. I don't like it.
What do you want? What's a better nickname for you?
Oof,
I thought
well,
you don't want to die just though he made Walking Dead.
Now you're putting me on the spot.
Robert Kirkman, creator of Walking Dead.
I'll think about
The
it.
beard amongst beards.
I'll get back to you.
How about
A
that?
beard amongst beards. That's pretty good.
Okay. I already said Murray Sleeve is the best beard in the business, so I got to.
Oh, I got time.
Okay. You
I
can grow it out.
I can grow a bigger beard.
A little bit more plush.
Yeah.
Walking Dead, the game.
I really agreed to do this solely to talk about my beard. If we're going to talk about something else,
This interview is over.
that's not. Yeah.
No, you're going to talk about this game. Whether I have to sit through as many awkward moments as I have to sit through awkward moments. Season 2's done now. They've already announced Season 3 is coming.
They have.
You
yes.
guys are just hell bent on making this game nonstop. My question, I just went to the bathroom here at Skybound.
Yeah.
In there,
Is it nice?
It
Does
is.
it
I
look
like
okay?
it. I thought it was nice. There's carpets in there in front of the urinal and one in front of the toilet.
Yeah, but we don't clean those carpets.
Well, I didn't get down and like lay in it, so it doesn't matter to me. Is the shoes are already filthy. Don't even get me started on my shoes. But in there's a poster of concept art that is the first thing I ever saw from The Walking Dead, the video game.
Yes.
And it totally threw me because I haven't seen that since San Diego Comic-Con 2010.
It's old. That's why we put it in the bathroom.
Well, no, but for me, it's a touching memory. I remember going and I remember having them. I remember Telltale sitting me down and being like, "This is the thing. You're going to be this guy. His name's Lee Everett. You're going to take care of this girl named Clementine." And all they had were these like watercolor paintings like that to show me.
Yeah.
And I remember writing an article for IGN of like, "This is what they said. It sounds awesome," and then just being like, "I don't know if that sounds way too lofty." You know what I mean? 'Cause like it sounded too good to be true when somebody's talking about adapting, one of my favorite franchises into a video game, but keeping everything I love about the comics. You know what I mean?
Right.
How hard was it to make that happen, to make that work?
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, it was seemingly impossible. I don't know, but it all worked out. So
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't that hard. But no, I mean, it was a fun process. It was a very exciting process, just because it was definitely there's a fair amount of letting go involved. Trusting them. Letting them come in and say, hey, we're gonna take this little corner of The Walking Dead and make it ours. Mm-hmm. And I think that to a certain extent, that is one of the things that's led to the success of The Walking Dead in all these different mediums. Is because every time that we've expanded into a new medium, I've kind of been like, you're an expert in this medium. I'll tell you what I can about The Walking Dead, and I'll, guide you as best I can here and there.
Sure.
But I really want to give you the runway to, do what it is that you do, because this is a medium that I'm not necessarily, 100% familiar in, whether it's, working with AMC on the Walking Dead TV show, or working with Jayvon and Singa on the Walking Dead novel series, or Telltale on the video game. You got to empower these people to do what it is that they do best. I feel like if in any of those instances I had been like, no, we're going to do the story this way, and it's going to be my way, and we got to do this way, or it's not The Walking Dead, it would have been terrible.
Sure.
Because I don't know how to make a video game. So yeah, I mean, it was just it was a fun process, but I'm very proud of the fact that they were able to take the little bit of direction I gave them. Try to make people cry. Like, that was something I said to them very early on. The purpose of The Walking Dead is to make people emotional and sad. Like, that's what we are at its core. It's not an action story. It's it's really just playing with people's emotions, and they really took that ball and ran with it, I gotta say.
Yeah.
It's very gratifying seeing them succeed the way they have, because they've put a ton of hard work into these games.
So I mean, are there those deep breath moments? I mean, like you say, you bring in experts, you let them run with it. But I mean,
Right.
First off, was that a hard decision to come to in the very beginning, the first time you ever gave Walking Dead to somebody else?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny thinking about my first interactions with Telltale, because we were very cagey. Like, oh, we want to do a game. And it's like, yeah,
A lot of
sure.
people want to do a game.
Let's see what you got, and getting to know them was a lot of fun. I mean, Dan Connors and Kevin, I'm forgetting his last name for
Brunner.
a second. Is it Bruner?
Yeah. Brunner?
Brunner?
I say Bruner. Huh. don't care. I've introduced him on
whatever.
panels. He's never corrected me.
That doesn't sound right to me, but I guess that's his last name. Anyway, so Dan and Kevin, we're like pals now. You know.
Yeah.
Aside from the whole last name thing.
Sure.
But
You can't find him in your phone. You're just looking. You have 3 Kevins, no last names. You're like, oh,
they call
great.
me. But don't laugh too hard.
That was good, though. I like that one.
But no, it's fun thinking back on your like first impressions and the way that that you were a little bit more uncomfortable, and now I trust those guys 100%. So it's pretty cool.
So what does it boil down to then in terms of how they do interact with you now? Is it that, I mean, they send you the scripts early on, they send you the idea of what they're doing, and they just go away and make the game?
Not necessarily. I mean, we there's a back and forth. We're doing that right now on season 3. They came to me and they were like, what does this work? Does that work? Because they want to keep it as in line with the comic series as possible. And there are certain restrictions and there's certain things that you kind of have to adhere to make it all jive. And we're going back and forth right now trying to find something that works for what they want to do with season 3, but also doesn't interfere with what I'm doing in the comic series at all. Because now that they've advanced the timeline a little bit in the games to get Clementine a little bit older, they're starting to get close to where I am in the comic.
Yeah.
And so that's something that you have to be a little bit mindful of. But there's a lot of collaboration very early on, with maybe go this way, maybe go that way. And we're doing all that stuff now. But then it does hit a point where I'm like, make a game.
Yeah. I'm gonna go over here and make this beef jerky.
Yeah. And then they're like, here's a game. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, you talked a second ago. I mean, I always make a big point when I'm talking about Walking Dead, as I do all the time here on IGN, that this is happening in the comic book universe, but it's not like in the comic book, right? I'm always trying to explain this to somebody who's just trying to cross over from one thing to the other, or if they're a fan of the show and they're asking me about the game, like, well, this is different, but this is all the same thing. You like them being separated, right? We've talked about this on panels before. Like,
yeah.
Why?
I think that it's important that, if, say, we'll use Star Wars as an example. If every single thing that you read in Star Wars was about Luke Skywalker fighting Darth Vader, you would eventually get bored with that. Sure. Like, oh, he's fighting him in a comic book, he's fighting him in a video game, he's fighting him in a movie. The fact that The Walking Dead features almost completely different characters in every different iteration. The novel tells a completely different story. The video game tells a completely different story. The comic and the TV show are more entangled, but they're still very different. And there's certain things that you can only get in the comic series, certain things you can only get in the show. I think that providing a different experience in each medium, makes the overall tapestry a lot richer. And it's, when you're experiencing the overall Walking Dead world by, playing a game, reading a comic, watching a TV show, it's more fun if it's not all the same stuff. And so, that's why I like to try and push the boundaries as much as possible anytime we do things like that.
All I'm saying is I want Clem's hat to be in the background of a panel of The Walking Dead one day.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
We're saying.
You never know.
Yeah, I know you never know. There's a lot of things going on. Speaking of never knowing, you set the internet on fire this year. when the Starbreeze game got announced, right?
Yes.
So you're doing another cooperative thing similar to Payday, blah blah blah.
Right.
One of the things I loved, and I made sure I've called it out here on Playing Dead when I was talking to the Telltale guys, is the fact that there's this great monologue from Jane, right, in season 2, which, by the way, we've spoiled everything. You should have not watched this if you hadn't played all of season 2. Where she talks about being in D.C. when the outbreak hit, and like how there was this guy and he was trapped under a car, and they went to get him and they kept losing people, but they finally got him and he was bit, and it was all a giant waste of time. What stood out to me was like the only thing we know about the Starbreeze game is that it's in D.C. right as it all kind of breaks off, right? And so I asked, the Telltale guys, I'm like, is that possible? And they're like, yeah, it's possible that that's all the same.
So we're talking about that publicly, yeah.
Yeah. There are these hooks in there for the whole universe to come together and collaborate.
Yeah, that's the fun, that's the stuff that when we were kids nobody ever did.
Yeah.
Like you watch different things and you're like, oh, why can't they do this and that, and like did G.I. Joe show up in Transformers or Transformers show up in G.I. Joe? There was one slight crossover. Okay, screw you.
I like Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters. They just crossed over in a comic book. Pick it up today.
Yeah.
Did you write
But,
that one too?
No, I didn't write that one, so I'm indifferent.
Okay.
But no, I mean that's the stuff that we always hoped for, you know, that you know you couldn't really do because it was like contractually difficult.
Sure.
But now, you know, people are like putting that legwork in and doing that, and that's why you get like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all these other cool things. And so yeah, we are trying to make sure that there's as much synergy as possible between, you know, what we're doing with Walking Dead in the video game space.
Is that all because of you and Skybound? Like the fact that you still own everything and you get to do what you want with your property?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible because of that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
that's the only way it's legally possible, but it's also because Starbreeze and Overkill and Telltale are really cool people.
Yeah.
And so they're not just like, yeah, let's make a game, whatever, people will buy it, it's got Walking Dead on it, look, who cares? Yeah. Like they're actually like 100% invested in creating like the best experiences possible. And the best experience possible has nods to other things in it. And you know, when you can have that like extra level of, you know, stuff to it, then it's going to be that much cooler. So yeah, you'll be hearing some stuff about little things like that moving forward.
Does it hurt your feelings when someone says they love the game more than the comics or the TV show more than this? Or
No, I actually find that to be like, there's a little part of me that's like, really? But I work on all of them to a certain extent. But like, I think that's amazing. Like when people are like, oh, the Telltale game series, way better than your stupid comic. Like, sure, there's a little bit of me that's like, but the comic was the start of it, and like, what are you talking about? But at the end of the day, that's what you want. Like, that's actually the best case scenario, because someone coming to you and saying, yeah, the game is not as good as the comic is actually like not a compliment, because you're like, I really worked hard on that game. Like, what the hell? And the fact that, you know, some people like the show more, and some people like the game more, and some people like the comic more, I think that's awesome. If everyone was like, no, the show's the best one, then I'd be like, oh crap, like we screwed up.
Oh, man, I messed up.
But I love that there are like these big factions of the fandom that, you know, prefer one version or the other, and some of those aren't the comic book. They're not the original thing. So, you know, that just tells me that, you know, we're being good stewards of the brand, and we're doing awesome stuff with it, and I think that's great.
Okay. What happens in season 3? Am I still playing as Clem? Is it a flashback? Fill in the gap when Krista and her were on their own. Like, what happened with the baby? That's kind of up that I don't know that.
I can't say. Lots of cool stuff.
Okay.
Possibly, you know, I'm not going to say anything.
All right. 2 more things then. These are just more requests for you. First off, I'll remind you as always, Dave Fennoy should be in the show. Secondly, I want to tell you.
I hear you loud and clear.
Just making sure he's Ezekiel. I mean, he has a tiger. There you go. He's ready to go. And then number 2, of course, make a Clem and Lee statue already. You got all this stuff. You're merchandising all this stuff. Just make the statue already.
You'll you know, there's some joy in your future.
Hey, all right.
There you go. Look at that.
There's joy in the Walking Dead future, left and right.
Sure.
That's the tagline, I think, for season 3. Robert, thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
By here, actually. We didn't.
Whichever way it was, I'm glad that it happened.
Me too. I'm always happy to cross paths with you. For everything about The Walking Dead, keep it here on IGN.